What was the output? What was the output of the meeting with the big theme, sustaining peace and development in a divided and dangerous world?
Yeah. Well, I think the output is...
Dunia sedang mengalami berbagai krisis, seperti pangan, energi, dan keuangan yang harus dihadapi bersama oleh komunitas internasional. Untuk itu, platform multilateral dan regional seperti G20 dan ASEAN harus menjadi efektif kembali untuk mengatasi berbagai masalah yang ada. Halo pemirsa, Anda menyaksikan International Corner ANTARA bersama saya Grazie Simanjuntak. Saat ini saya masih bersama dengan pendiri Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia FPCI, Bapak Dino Patijalal. Pak Dino, kita akan bicara tentang Global Town Hall in this third segment. FPCI has just held the largest international policy conference at its Global Town Hall event on November 5th. November 5th, yes. Yeah. What was the output? What was the output of the meeting with the big theme, sustaining peace and development in a divided and dangerous world?
Yeah. Well, I think the output is the fact that civil societies from east, west, north, south are meeting and having constructive conversations. The idea behind the Global Town Hall is that we fear in this very divided world and contentious world, the space for dialogue is shrinking. Right? People don't really talk to one another. You know? They made up their mind about the other side, and whatever the other side says, they don't want to hear, right? And so on and so on. So it's really worrying for me, and especially because if you have condition where governments are not talking, right? Or if they talk, they don't really listen. The worst thing you want is for the people to also do the same, right? So what we want to achieve is, okay, governments now are not talking because the world is so divided, but the people have to reach out and connect and talk and have conversations. And we were surprised to find when we pursued this Global Town Hall that many civil society organizations in a majority of countries do not talk to civil society organizations outside their country, right? So Indonesia, for example, we have about 400,000 civil society groups, right? According to the the registration of the government. Right? But out of that 400,000 civil society organizations, I would say only 1% actually talk to their counterparts outside Indonesia, right? And the same thing throughout Africa, Latin America. This is what they say, hey, we don't really talk to people outside our country, right? So this is an effort to reach out and engage and connect these civil society organizations, because there is now a trend whereby even civil society organizations are becoming insecure and even have hostility towards the outside world, right? Because the world is so is so painful according to them, right? So they blame everything on the outside world. Right? So it's important to get these civil society groups to talk to one another.
What are the views and ideas of the speakers on global issues that are urgent and important to all of us, such as the devastating economic impact of the invasion of Ukraine, to accelerating urgent action on climate change, and also eliminating extreme poverty?
Well, this is like the UN of civil societies, right? I mean, they have so much diversity in their views, but what is refreshing is that they all agree that the world now is really in a I would say dangerous, but a difficult position, and that there must be efforts so that the key global challenges like SDG and climate change are not derailed by the geopolitical rivalries that is happening. Because, say 4 or 5 years ago, SDG was like the #1 international issue. Everyone's working at it. How do we achieve it in climate change also? But it feels now that with the Cold War 2.0, so to speak, that these issues are being put on the back burner as a secondary importance, right? What is important is the defense, right? The strategic rivalries, the hard power politics, and so on. So I think there's an overwhelming feeling that how do we get these issues back to the front of the international agenda, you know, climate change, and also SDGs. So that was the overall sentiment, in my view, of the Global Town Hall.
Last but not least, sir, what are the hopes and suggestions from global citizen to G20 leaders?
To listen to the voice of civil societies. There's always this concern that G20 would become an elitist group because, hey, there's 195 countries and there's only 20 countries in the G20. So we have to make sure that everyone feels that they own the G20, right? Not just the G20 countries. And we have to make sure that the G20 makes economic decisions that will benefit the whole world, right? Not just the G20 economies, right? And there's an expectation that G20, you have to be able to resolve these big economic issues and not just bicker among themselves, you know, because, you know, like on climate now, there is now a slowing down in progress, right? One participant said that the climate, the 1.5 degree target of climate reduction is on life support, for example, right? And there is concern that the efforts for green transition is slowing down because of the energy crisis, right? And funds that were expected to go to developing countries, such as the $100 billion climate finance, will be affected by the rise of defense spending in countries that are now in contention, right? So there is a lot of hope that G20 get its act together and in a very difficult and divided world still make solutions that will help fix the global economy and the climate future.
Lastly, sir, what is the follow-up to Global Town Hall 2022?
Oh, very good question. Well, we found a treasure, Grace, which is a sea of civil society organizations that were not connected before, right? And they want to be part of global conversations. And we found that keeping the East-West, North-South dialogue is a key to peace, because the people have to understand one another, not just governments. So we're gonna expand the participation. We're gonna engage in more routine dialogue, not just once a year, but maybe even every week, right? And we got to make sure that North-South, East-West dimension is preserved, because so many dialogue now is only within the West, right? And you know, it's not comprehensive, it's not inclusive. So we want to make sure, like we had a discussion on democracy between China, India, Russia, France, and America, and a Nigerian at the Global Town Hall, and it was really awesome. It was really fantastic because you see different angles to this, right? But if you just have an American and French debated, then obviously, you know, it's
quite similar.
Yeah, it's very limited, right? You get only one side.
Yeah.
So we want to keep promoting that, you know, North-South, East-West angle, and make it spread throughout the world. We want to achieve connection in all 195 countries instead of just 145 countries that we have already.
Maybe with more young and women speakers?
And we're also happy that we had a lot of excellent female speakers in the panels of the Global Town Hall, and we want to achieve gender balance in all our discussions, right? So, you know, we were quite happy that we had the Deputy Secretary General of UN, for example, Amina, right? And you know, many good speakers. So, so gender balance is quite important in how we execute a global town hall.
Alright, Pak Dino. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you, Grace.
Demikian pemirsa perbincangan saya dengan pendiri Foreign Policy Community of Indonesia FPCI, Bapak Dino Patijalal. Sampai jumpa di International Corner Antara berikutnya.